Hello, Mr. TheShaunShow, Season 2, I think. I'm not actually sure if I am live at the moment. Hopefully I am. Yes, we are. And welcome back. It's the TheShaunShow Season 2. It's been a while. The last time we were on the show, Super Bowl had just finished, so we wrapped it up for this season. I was meant to come back a lot sooner. I do apologize for that, but we're back now. NFL has started its preseason. Love to see it. We're going to get into that at the end of the show. As you can see, we've got some new graphics. The graphics team has been to work, I got to say. Big props to those guys over there. Big props to them. Let's get straight into the agenda. Boom, there it is. I'm getting used to all these clicks again. Agenda hasn't changed, though. I've got to get the graphics team on top of that. Yeah. Let's talk about things that have happened since our last show. Then we're going to go into the NFL Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about some of the inductees for this year. Then we're going to go over some NFL rule changes that will affect this season. And then we're going to have a look at the first preseason game of the year, Chargers versus Lions. We're only going to talk about a little bit of stats. We're not going to do a very big deep dive into it. But we're back, and the NFL is back, and it's good. It's good. So let's start off. Boom. Since our last show, a lot has happened in the sports world, at least. In my own life, quite a few things have gone down, I gotta say. But we'll maybe talk about that. Probably not. Anyway, since our last show, what happened in the sports world? OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder, beat the Indiana Pacers in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. 103 to 291. Sorry. I did watch that game. It was a pretty good game. Tyrese Halliburton, did tear his ACL early into the game. Completely affected the outcome of it, but still it was quite a close one. He's got a pretty good road to recovery. He seems in pretty good spirits from what I've seen him on the Pat McAfee show. He got surgery pretty soon after it. It would have been within a few days, as they do in these days. A little talk about his injury itself. He was saying that in the first few games of that series, he was feeling a little tight back there. Medical staff did tell him, look, if this wasn't postseason, we'd be telling you to stay out for a few games now. Obviously, NBA Finals, you're not gonna take any time off. They did keep him out quite a bit during the series, especially Game 5 and 6. He was on the sideline a little bit. And then he said, day before Game 7, day of Game 7, he was feeling really very good, not feeling any strains at all. Starts the game off hot, and then boom. Not his ACL, sorry, his Achilles. He tore his Achilles, so that's my bad. It was his Achilles. I do apologize about that. The scripting team seems to have dicked me around a little bit and written ACL there. But that's on me for not using my brain. Now, on the winning side, SGA. He secured his first NBA championship. OKC Thunder. Whoa, what am I doing today? I think it's their... Don't quote me on this, but it might be their first NBA championship. You would think Russ and KD would have got one for them at least one. Either way, SGA secured NBA and NBA Finals MVP crowns. What a massive season from him. And on top of that, he also took out the scoring title. So that's kind of massive. That's like their triple crown, I'd say. That's pretty huge. Premier player. Definitely deserves that ring. Cool to see how they go next season. There was an interesting transition this year, actually. The Knicks were set up to beat the Bulls. Oh, sorry, my bad. The Knicks were set up to beat the Celtics. They did happen to come across the Pacers, who play a different game. They play a very pacey game, should I say. They run a lot. They move in transition hard. And I guess the Knicks just kind of couldn't hang with that. They were planning for the Celtics. They got beat by the Pacers. Now, OKC can also kind of play that game a little bit. But they're a very patient team. They can capitalize on what they need to. They can swing games very quickly, and we saw that throughout the finals. Anyway, moving on. The Florida Panthers beat the Edmonton Oilers 5-1 in Game 6, taking out the series 4-2 of the NHL Finals. Pretty cool stuff there. I myself don't watch the NHL, but I thought it was worth throwing in there. Another stat from this NHL season, Alex Ovechkin, he made his way into the record books by pushing past Wayne Gretzky's 894 all-time goals scored. He himself is now the all-time goal scoring leader for the NHL. And a cool little stat about this, he broke the record by scoring his 895th goal in his 1,487th game, which is the exact same amount of games in Wayne Gretzky's career. So, you know, when it comes to comparisons, you can say, yeah, Ovechkin did it in the same amount of games, and he scored more goals, albeit by one. Still, he broke the record in the same amount of games, and that's really very cool. The FIFA Club World Cup also happened. There was another couple of soccer tournaments that were also on, football, whatever you want to call it. Chelsea FC beat Paris Saint-Germain 3-0, actually, so pretty dominant win there. There was a little bit of controversy around this FIFA Club World Cup. Three of the current league champions, Liverpool, Barcelona, and Napoli, were not invited to the event. So, you know, if you're gonna have a Club World Cup, it's very disputable when you don't have a couple of current champions in there. Moving on. Smaller news in the NBA: the Charlotte Hornets have won the NBA Summer League Championship. I'm not sure what you call it. I think it was like the 2K25 championship. Who knows? They beat the Sacramento Kings 83-78. Moving on. We'll see how Charlotte goes this season with a pretty strong young crew, it looks like. Maybe they're developing something for the next few years. All right, back to the agenda. Now we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame inductees. There were 4 of them this year. Let's start off with Eric Allen. So, this man, career span 1988 to 2001, drafted second round, 30th overall in 1988, obviously. In his rookie season, this man had 5 interceptions. That's crazy. He had 3+ interceptions in his first 7 seasons. He had 54 total career interceptions, and 8 of them being pick sixes, 730 solo tackles, 6 forced fumbles. What a beast. There he is there. Played mainly, probably most well known for his time with the Philadelphia Eagles. Unfortunately, this man never won a Super Bowl. But he's in the Hall. He's in the Hall now. His accolades: he was in the NFL All-Rookie Team of 1988. Of course, if you're going to grab 5 interceptions, come on. First All-Team Pro, 1989. 6-time Pro Bowler. And he is part of the Philadelphia's Eagles Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Eric Allen. Well deserved. Now he moved on to another Allen. Jared Allen, defensive end. Drafted 4th round. 126th overall. 503 solo tackles. 648 total tackles. 32 forced fumbles. 171 tackles for loss. That's insane. 171 tackles for loss. 32 forced fumbles. Get out of here. 6 career interceptions. 1 fumble recovered for a touchdown. Oh my god, 228 QB hits, 4 safeties. He actually is tied for NFL career safeties at 4 right now. Jared Allen, what a beast. His accolades: NFL All-Rookie Team 2004, 4-time First Team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2 times NFL sack leader. He was the sack king twice in his career. Beast. And then obviously he's also in the Minnesota Vikings Ring of Honor. Congratulations, Jared Allen. Well deserved. Enjoy it. You're in there with the greats now. Moving on, a player that I actually got to watch play, Antonio Gates. I had Antonio Gates on my fantasy football team like the first season that I played it. I don't play it anymore, but man, he is a weapon. He is a weapon. Oh my god. You know, he went undrafted in 2003. The guy was more of a baller, more well known in college for his basketball abilities than his football abilities. He has 116 receiving touchdowns, which is an NFL tight end record. That's right, Gronk did not touch that. He's 8 seasons with 8+ TDs. That is another NFL tight end record. 955 receptions, 11,000 yards. Absolute animal. He was a 3-time First Team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, in the Los Angeles Chargers Hall of Fame. And he changed the tight end position. So this guy, before this guy, catching tight ends were not really a thing, right? He defined a different style of play for the tight end position. And, you know, as you can see the fullback kind of falling out of usage in the NFL, you could say he almost probably like saved the position. Because who knows, man? If the tight end didn't exist in the current form, which is a pass catching form, like before that, all they did was pass protect. It could have very much been the tight end going out of fashion than the fullback. This man changed the position. Listen to me when I tell you that. Electric. Absolutely electric. Congratulations, Antonio Gates. Well deserved. You're in there with the greats now. Finally, Sterling Shepard. Now, this is crazy. I will be flipping back to the Antonio Gates slide during this one. Now, Sterling Shepard, wide receiver, only played for the Packers. I do believe he's the only inductee this year that has won a Super Bowl. But let's talk about him a little bit. 1988 to 1994. That is only a 7-season career. To make it into the Hall of Fame after only playing for 7 seasons, that's a feat. And let's look at his numbers. This will explain why. He was drafted first round, 7th overall. He had 65 receiving touchdowns in 7 seasons. He had 5 1,000-yard seasons out of 7. 595 receptions, 8,000 yards. 3-time First Team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler. He won the Triple Crown in 1992. The receiver Triple Crown, which means most touchdowns, most receptions, most yards. I do believe most recently Jamar Chase won it. I'm not sure if it was last season or the season before, but it is a very prestigious award to win if you are a receiver in the NFL. He was a 3-time NFL receptions leader and a 3-time NFL receiving touchdowns leader. He is in the Green Bay Hall of Fame. So I know I've accentuated he was only in there for 7 seasons and he did all of this. Now let's have a look at Antonio Gates' numbers. You know, this is a 16-year career. 116 receiving touchdowns. In half the time, Sterling Shepard got over half of that. 594 receptions to the 955. Again, Sterling Shepard surpassed half of that in less than half the time. And the yardage is insane. 8,000 yards compared to 11. Now, granted, Antonio Gates is a tight end. He's not expected to get tons and tons of yards. But the fact that he did this over a 16-year career and Sterling Shepard did this over a 7-year career, absolutely insane. Would have been great to be able to watch this guy play live. Congratulations, Sterling Shepard. Well deserved. You're in there with the greats now. Congratulations to all 4 Hall of Fame inductees this season. Alright, moving on. NFL rule changes. Alright. We're going to do a little bit of the nitty-gritty. Alright, so there is 2 main NFL rule changes that will affect the actual game this season. There are a couple of other changes outside of the game that, you know, I'm not really going to touch on. I'm just going to kind of just point out a few, but these are the big things. So the competition committee has approved the new dynamic kickoff, which was implemented last year. This is a permanent change, so get used to that kickoff. So this, if you don't know, they changed the kickoff for various reasons. This is one, to reduce the space and speed, resulting in less injuries from the play, and it is also to promote more kick returns. Now, I didn't set up slides to go over the rules, whatever. Basically, everybody is lined up quite close. The ball must be kicked in a landing zone, which I believe is from the 0 to the 20. If the ball goes out, I believe it's classed as a touchback. If the ball doesn't even make it to the landing zone, then that's for the opposition starts on the 40. If the ball lands in the landing zone, then it needs to be returned. You know, the play doesn't actually start until the receiver receives the ball or it touches the ground. So that means everybody has to wait and then go. But the big change for this season is that the touchback will now result in the offense starting at the 35-yard line. Last season it was the 30. There's a big difference in that 5 yards. I'll talk about that. You can see those numbers on the screen if you haven't already read them. But yeah, it's actually quite a big thing towards the end of the season and in the playoffs, particularly in the Super Bowl. Or you kind of only saw touchbacks; they just kick it out of the end zone, resulting in, you know, the 30 yards. And that's not what the NFL wants. The NFL wants teams to return the ball. It's an exciting play. It gives a lot of people jobs. You got to understand, the game can actually change the outcome of a game. It's a pretty exciting play when executed well. Now, the change from the 30 to 35. So let's go over the numbers really quickly. So drives starting at the 30-yard line. They got a 15% chance or rate of turning into a field goal, which is 3 points. They have a 23% chance to turn into a TD or a touchdown, which is 6 to 8 points. Now, drives starting at the 35, their field goal rate is increased by 6% to 21.2%. That's 1 in every 5 drives from the 35 is getting a field goal. The touchdown rate is 30%, so damn near 1 out of every 3 drives is resulting in a touchdown from the 35. Now that's a 7% uptick. If you're an offensive coordinator in the NFL, that is a massive uptick. You will take that any day. Now, in 2024, just think about those numbers. In 2024, teams averaged 4 to 6 drives per game. Now, which one of those odds would you prefer if you only had 5 drives in one game? Starting at the 35, at least you're getting 3 points on the board if everything goes terrible. Just think about it. It's actually a massive change. We're going to see a lot more returns this season. It's going to be a pretty exciting season to watch with that change. The next little change about the kickoff scenario is that an onside kick can now be declared at any time by the trailing team on their kickoff. Last season, it was implemented that they implemented the change that only a trailing team can elect to do an onside kickoff. They had to announce it, which was a bit of a, a lot of people don't like that. But you could only do it in the fourth quarter. And that sometimes is a bit too late. Sometimes it's a bit too late to get the momentum changed if you're down a very large deficit. Now, if you're able to do this at any point in the game, keep yourself in the game, give yourself better chances when it comes to the fourth quarter, you can now do that. Obviously, it has to be your kickoff. You can't just elect to do an onside kick when you're on third down or some shit like that. But yeah, basically, I think we might see a couple more onside kicks. Teams like the Lions, they do quite like to go for it. They like to go for 2. They like to try the onside kick. If they're trailing this season, who knows if they will be. You might see them elect to do an onside kick. I'm not going to point out some of the worst teams in the league, but we might see more onside kicks from them. Depends how good your hands team is. All right. Next big rule change that will affect the game itself is that instant replay can now advise on-field calls. What does that mean? What do you mean? So, basically, what this means is that, hold on, I can give you the exact verbiage for it straight from the site. Competition Committee amend a rule to expand instant replay's ability to advise the on-field officials on specific objective aspects of a play and or to address game administration issues when clear and obvious video evidence is present. Right. So basically what this means is that if there is some clear evidence to create or overturn a call or confirm a call, they will use the instant replay to advise that. Kind of questionable on why they didn't do it previously, probably because it wasn't in the rule books, and maybe refs had some sort of, machoistic attitude towards it. I don't know, but now spotting the ball on first downs, instead of just implementing technology into the ball so that they could see exactly where it is in a scrum or where it has gotten to. Maybe the technology is not there yet. I don't know. But basically now, if instant replay sees the spot of a ball, then they can use that to advise. This is kind of big. We've seen a lot of badly spotted calls in the last few years when the instant replay is clearly showing, a different outcome to what the refs call. So last season in the AFC Championship game, Bills versus Chiefs, we're in the fourth quarter. There's 13 minutes of game clock left. The Bills are up 22-21. They're trying to extend their drive so they can kill more clock, hopefully get some points, hold out the Chiefs, get the ball back, and have a chance to win the game. In this scenario, it would be very likely that the Bills would have the ball last. If you know much about NFL and time, then there's a good chance of that. Now, what happens? Bills are on third down. They need to get the first. Bills quarterback, Allen, throws the ball to his boy. Boy goes down, extends his reach. On the instant replay, you clearly see the ball pass the line. Refs call it short. They show replay after replay after replay. Now, people at home are seeing this replay and hearing a call that goes completely against what the replay is showing them. Fans in the stadium are watching this replay that clearly outweighs what the refs have called, yet the Bills are called short. Goes to a fourth down. Allen snaps the ball, he keeps it, he lunges forward, he tries to jump high and go over the line. The ball arguably crosses the plane. Now, if we're talking about a touchdown here, they would call it because it has crossed the plane. The ball crosses the plane. Again, said they were short. Kansas City ball, turnover on downs. This really messes with the head. Your head, like this is a really just like you're like we made the first down twice, and now we're leaving the field. Like it mentally can throw you off your game. So this is a great change, right? This is a great change. The final score of that game was Chiefs 32, Bills 29. So this is actually a game-defining decision that got wrong twice. And again, the frustration of fans watching on the TV, the frustration of fans in the stadium seeing it on the big screen, like it's kind of ridiculous. The NFL really had to do something about it. This is a step in the right direction. At least it's a step at all. They could have done nothing, and then this season we could have been subject to really shitty spots again. Excuse the language. All right. Some other couple of rule changes that happened. So Philadelphia proposed to change to align the postseason and regular season overtime rules to allow both teams an opportunity to possess the ball regardless of the outcome of the first possession, subject to the 10-minute overtime period in the regular season. So what this means is in the playoffs, in overtime, if the team that gets the ball scores a touchdown, that's essentially a walk-off touchdown. The opposition does not get the chance to get points on the board or contest that touchdown. And that's kind of ridiculous, right? So again, Philadelphia proposed the change. So now in overtime, if the first team scores a touchdown, the second team also gets a chance to score a touchdown. Now this is subject to 10-minute overtime period only in the regular season. So I guess the overtime can't go over 10 minutes in the regular season, but in postseason it will go until there is a winner. I think this is a good change. It's kind of ridiculous when one team gets the ball and they go down and score, and that's it. It would leave an extremely sour taste in your mouth if you're the offense that they didn't get to touch the field. I think there should be there should be more specific rules around the overtime. We can talk about it in the future, but in short, I think if the first team scores a touchdown on their drive, the second team should get the chance to score a touchdown on a drive in the same or less plays. If they can score a touchdown, but it takes them 5 more plays, game over. It's not good enough. If they do it in less plays, game over. You beat the quota. That's the goal. Otherwise, if you start going past, if you start going to OT2 and OT3, the quality of the game is going to start to drop because everybody's getting tired. You've got a higher risk of injuries. Now, imagine if you're at the AFC or the NFC Championship, you're going into OT3. The team that's going to the Super Bowl is just watching this game, just our competition is probably going to get injured. Hopefully we go to OT5. Anyway, a little bit, I've gone on a bit too much about that, but basically that's the change. There are a couple more rules that are going in. Nothing particularly to do with the game. These are the things outside. So, for example, teams that make the playoff, I believe they can assign 2 more players to the designated for return status. I think if you don't make the playoffs, it is 8, and if you do, it's 10, or else it's 6 and 8. I'm unsure. Either way, if you make it to the postseason, there's a higher chance that you're going to have injured players. So, allowing you to put more players on the designated for return, probably a good change. There is another change that I think Washington proposed about obtaining scouting information from postseason eligible teams once you are postseason eligible. So essentially, once you've clinched your spot in the playoffs, you are then allowed to start getting scouting information from other teams that possibly can make it to the playoffs or are already locked into the playoffs. I do believe there was another little snippet to this in which teams hosting the wild card games need to send out scouting information. I'm not sure, but either way, it's not something that the regular fan will really take notice of or really see enacted in the game. Now, I want to talk about the Hall of Fame game. Talking about the Hall of Fame game. Here we go. Los Angeles Chargers versus the Detroit Lions, 34-7 in Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, Canton, Ohio. Obviously, Hall of Fame weekend. It's going to be in Canton, Ohio, where the Hall of Fame is. Yeah, not a great score from the Lions. This is preseason, though, so nobody really cares. A little bit about the game. So, Lions gave up 3 interceptions to a stingy Chargers defense, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. Their late round draft picks showed some production. So let's start with the Chargers side. Trey Lance got to start this game. Interesting career. Hopefully he gets some legs to it. He went 13 for 20, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Carried the ball 3 times for 8 yards. Will Dissly, their tight end, he went 2 for 2, 14 yards and a tud. First round draft picked running back Omarion Hampton. He only rushed twice. He got 9 yards for it. So there's a good chance that he will be part of the rotating running back committee that they do at the Chargers. So he's going to be getting playtime. I don't think they're going to try to. They don't want to risk injuries to him. He's definitely a lock. It might be more about getting some eyes on the other guys that they need to decide if we're going to be on the roster. Third round pick, defensive tackle Caldwell. He had 3 solo tackles. 5th round wide receiver Keandre Lambert Smith. He had 2 receptions from 2 targets, 43 yards and 1 touchdown. So pretty nice to see some work out of the 5th round receiver. Now moving over to the Lions side of the ball, Kyle Allen was the starting quarterback. He went 9 for 14, 91 yards and threw 2 interceptions. That is Josh Allen's brother. Let's talk about their draft pick. So their 3rd round wide receiver Isaac Tesla. Tesla. He had two receiving. He caught the ball twice. Jesus. Yeah. So again, third round pick wide receiver Eric Tesla had 2 catches out of the 3 targets that he got. He had 46 yards off that. 6th round edge Ahmed Hassanain had 2 solo tackles and 2 assisted tackles. 7th round safety Dan Jackson balled out. He had 3 solo tackles and 2 assisted tackles. I think that tied for most on the team. I do believe the other person, oh no, he did get beat. Somebody had a sack. But yeah, really good work out of the 7th round safety there. Keep your eyes on him. The 7th round wide receiver, Dominic Lovett. Now this guy, they use this guy. This is what you want to see out of a 7th rounder. He had 9 targets. He caught 5 of them. He had 31 yards. Now he also did kick and punt return duties, and I think he did okay. Nothing spectacular, but he still did okay. So if you're the Lions, sure, you've lost this game, but you know who you're going to be kind of looking at in the next few games. You've got, what was that, a 6th round, a 7th, and 2 7th rounders actually balling out in a big loss. So it's pretty cool to see. Yeah, nobody cares about the outcome of this except for the people in that building and the people on the field. Yeah, you and I, we don't care. Now, let's look at next week's schedule. Preseason week 1. We're going to the website here. Graphics team didn't make anything up for this. So preseason week 1, we've got Colts at Ravens, Bengals at Eagles, Raiders at Seahawks, Lions at Falcons, Browns Panthers, Commanders Patriots, Giants Bills, Texans Vikings, Steelers Jags, Cowboys Rams, Titans Bucks. I mean, the list goes on. Everybody is playing. Everybody is playing. And it honestly means nothing. But that's okay. So in the upcoming shows, there are a couple of things that I do want to touch on. I do need to do the what is it, Factory of Sadness 2.0 video. We do need to cover that information. I need to do a Green Bay Packers preview of the season and a prediction, and I also kind of want to talk about how the overall season's gonna go. So I would like to have a quick look at each of the divisions, one AFC and one NFC, every week up until the season. That is a bit of work. I was going to try and predict all of their records, but I think that's just a bit too much to do. So we might go in over and under on what their over and under is, or maybe we'll just go over and under 10 wins. That might be easy to do. But yeah, this is the Sean Show. We're back, season 2, episode 1. Just remember, guys, you gotta be a good human and do great things. That's not the regular sign off. I can't even remember what it is, but we're signing off and we're back.